I've always wanted this girl. Some feelings don't happen all at once. They build slowly, quietly, until one day you realize they've always been there. That's how it was with her. She wasn't just someone I noticed one day and decided I liked. She was the girl who had always been different. The one I watched from a distance, never sure if I had the right to want something so out of reach. She had this way about her, like she wasn't trying to stand out, yet somehow she did. The way she laughed, unbothered and real. The way she carried herself, not for attention but because she knew her worth. She didn't have to demand space. She just owned it. And me? I was just the guy who could never look away. At first I told myself it was admiration, that she was just someone to respect, to appreciate from a safe distance. But admiration doesn't make your heart race. It doesn't make you wish for moments alone with someone, just to hear their thoughts, just to see if they'd look at you the way you look at them. It doesn't make you wonder, what if she saw me the way I saw her? What if she knew how long I've been waiting for a chance? What if I finally stopped waiting? Because the truth is, I've always wanted this girl. And maybe it's time she knew. Wanting her was never the hard part. It was admitting it. Because once the truth was out, once she knew, everything would change. And I wasn't sure if I was ready for that. I had spent so long keeping it to myself, watching her, learning the little things, how she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, how she bit her lip when she was trying not to smile, how her presence could make a room feel different, even if she never said a word. She had this effortless way of existing, and somehow she had become the most important thing to me, without even knowing it. But what if she didn't feel the same? What if I told her, and everything we had, the friendship, the easy conversations, the trust, fell apart? I wasn't just risking rejection, I was risking losing her completely. And that was the one thing I couldn't bear. So I kept quiet, told myself it was enough just to have her in my life, that I didn't need more, that I could live with the longing, as long as she was still there. But the truth was eating me alive, because every time she smiled at me, every time she laughed at something I said, every time she leaned in just a little too close, I wondered if she felt it too, if she had any idea that she was all I had ever wanted. And maybe it was time she found out. I couldn't keep this inside any longer. Wanting her in silence had been safe, but it wasn't enough anymore. The thought of telling her made my chest tighten, because once I said the words, there was no undoing them, no pretending they had never existed, no taking them back. But what scared me more than confessing was never knowing what could have been. She deserved to know, not just in stolen glances, not in hesitation or half-spoken words, but in truth, and I was ready to give her that. I pulled out my phone, fingers hovering over the screen. How do you tell someone they've been your quiet wish for so long, that every moment with them felt like gravity pulling you in, whether you wanted it to or not? That you had spent so many nights wondering if they had ever seen you the same way? I took a breath and started typing. Not poetry, not practiced lines, just honesty. I don't know when it happened. Maybe it was always there, but I need you to know. I've always wanted you. I stared at the words, my heart pounding. Then, before I could second guess myself, I hit send. And now there was nothing left to do but wait. For her reply, for whatever came next. For the moment that would finally answer the question I had been too afraid to ask. Does she feel it too? The message was sent. No more hiding. No more second guessing. She knew now. And there was no taking it back. I set my phone down. But my heart wouldn't settle. Every possibility ran through my mind at once. Would she be surprised? Would she be silent? Would she say something I wasn't ready to hear? Or had she been waiting for this moment as much as I had? Seconds passed, then minutes. No reply. Just the quiet weight of my confession hanging between us. I told myself to be patient, that she needed time to process. That just because she hadn't answered yet, didn't mean it was a no. Then my phone vibrated. A message. Her name. I swallowed hard. My fingers suddenly unsteady as I unlocked the screen. And there it was. A single line, staring back at me. I don't know what to say, but I've been thinking about you too. I exhaled sharply. A rush of relief and something else. Hope, because that wasn't rejection. That wasn't indifference. That was her letting herself feel this. Letting herself admit that maybe, just maybe, she had been waiting for this moment too. I read her words over and over again, letting them sink in. I don't know what to say, but I've been thinking about you too. She had been thinking about me, not as a friend, not as just someone in her life, but as something more. My pulse quickened, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. There were 1,000 things I could say, but only one that mattered. Then stop thinking and just feel it. I sent it before I could second guess myself. Because this wasn't about logic. It wasn't about analyzing every moment we had ever shared. It was about finally accepting what was already there. The typing bubble appeared, paused, disappeared, came back. I held my breath, waiting, hoping. Then her reply, I'm scared. 3 words. But I understood them more than she knew, because I was scared too. Scared of losing what we had. Scared of stepping into something that could change everything. Scared that once we crossed this line, there would be no going back. But the truth was, we had already crossed it. The moment I sent that message, the moment she admitted she had been thinking about me, we were already standing in something new, and there was only one thing left to do. Embrace it. I took a deep breath and typed my response. I know, but maybe we don't have to be. I hit send, waiting, because this was it. The moment that would decide everything, and no matter what happened next, I wasn't running from this, not anymore. The message was out there now, no more holding back, no more pretending this was something I could ignore. I told her exactly how I felt, and now all that was left to do was wait for her to decide if she was willing to feel it too. The screen stayed quiet. No response, no typing bubble, just silence. But I wasn't panicking, not this time, because I knew her. I knew how her mind worked, how she overthought things, how she needed time to process before she could let herself believe something real was happening. This was the realest thing we had ever faced. Minutes passed. Then finally, my phone lit up. A reply. I inhaled sharply before reading it. I don't know how to stop being scared. My chest tightened because I understood, because I had been there too. But I also knew that fear wasn't a reason to walk away. If anything, it was proof that this meant something. And I wasn't about to let fear keep us from something we both wanted. I typed back, carefully, honestly. Then let's be scared together. Let's take this one step at a time, at our own pace. But don't run from this, not when we both know what's really here. I hit send, holding my breath, because if there was any chance at all that she felt the same way, this was the moment we stopped avoiding it. This was the moment we finally let ourselves have it. The typing bubble appeared, and this time, she didn't stop. The typing bubble lingered for a few seconds, longer than before, and then finally her reply appeared. Okay, just one word. Simple, but it meant everything. I stared at it, my chest tightening, because this wasn't hesitation, this wasn't fear winning, this was her choosing to try. Choosing me. I exhaled, my fingers moving quickly over the keyboard. Okay? I typed, what does that mean? The response came almost instantly. It means I don't want to keep pretending either. I don't have all the answers, but I know I don't want to run from this anymore. A slow smile formed on my lips, because this was it. This was the moment I had been waiting for. Not a perfect, dramatic confession, not a sudden realization that she had loved me all along, just honesty. Just two people admitting that something had been there, quietly growing between them, waiting to be acknowledged. Then we don't pretend anymore. I typed back, we take this as it comes, together. Her reply was immediate. Together. And just like that, the weight I had been carrying for so long finally lifted. Because for the first time she wasn't just someone I wanted from a distance. She was someone who was willing to take a step toward me, and that was more than I ever could have asked for. Her last message stayed on my screen. A single word that changed everything. Together. Not a maybe, not uncertainty, but a choice. And this time she was choosing me. I leaned back, exhaling slowly. This wasn't the ending, it was the beginning. A start that neither of us had expected, yet somehow it felt like we had always been heading toward this moment, toward us. My phone buzzed again. Another message from her. So what now? A simple question. But I knew what she meant. We had crossed the line we spent so long avoiding. Now we had to figure out what came next. I typed back, letting the words flow naturally. Now we stop holding back. We stop wondering what if, and we see where this takes us. I hesitated, then added, at our own pace. No pressure, no expectations. Just us. I hit send, my chest tightening as I waited. Because this was real now. No longer a possibility. No longer a silent wish. This was happening. The typing bubble appeared, and then, her response. I liked the sound of that. I smiled, my heart steady, for the first time in a long time, because this wasn't just a conversation. This was something real, something worth taking a chance on. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next.